In this time of infectious threat and social unrest, of financial distress, where do you look for answers? Where do you look for assistance? The medical community is divided, and politicians seem to be pulling strings. They both want us to look to them for answers and assistance. But doctors and politicians are famous for wanting to play God. Some of it's well intentioned, they genuinely want to be helpful. But when we take God out of the mix, we are not in a good place to find the answers and assistance we need. I love what King David says in Psalm 121. Though he had power and prominence, his focus for help was not on himself or on others. He says in verse 1, I lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. In our day, the politicians want us to look to Capitol Hill rather than to the Holy Hill for assistance. And indeed, they want to be able to provide some assistance and help. But sadly, when we try to play God, we make people focus on us rather than the Maker. Terry was at Lowe's last evening, and thanks to your generosity, was purchasing a refrigerator for use at one of the prison units near Dayton, where she serves with a group of mentors in assisting those who are incarcerated. As she talked to the salesperson at Lowe's, he mentioned how understaffed they were because the government assistance in the form of unemployment right now is at $600 a week, roughly $15 an hour, which companies like Lowe's cannot compete with. This help from the government undermines the individual's sense of autonomy and agency, their ability to care for themselves, and makes them increasingly dependent on big government. Our politicians are spending way more than we have and driving us further into debt. We can't afford to look to others. Turns out that politicians and doctors also have their hand out to big pharma, special interest groups, lobbyists, Wall Street, big banking, and they're blind often to the things that motivate them in their decisions. Without listening to the Spirit of God within them, they are just like you and me, self-serving, sinful, and sick. We cannot afford to look to others for our answers. We must be on our knees looking to God, asking Him for assistance, being dependent on Him. We need to be on our knees, but it may also be time for us to stand up, to cry out against the wave of evil that is coming against us individually, against our nation, and against the world. Look to God. Ask Him for direction and protection. I want to finish by reading the whole of Psalm 121. It's a small chapter with a big encouragement. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence comes my help? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not smite you by the day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in, from this time, and even forevermore.